Welcome guys to another Pure Knowledge video, and today we'll be doing a recap of the in IT 2025 paper 2. And it's a quick recap, so let's get going. All right, the first question says pretty simple stuff. Peripheral devices are those which are usually added to a computer system connected to and controlled by the CPU, right? So circle two peripheral device in this list. All right, and we will look on the motherboard. The motherboard is not peripheral device. All right, it's not added. It can be plugged into the computer. It's already in the um the system unit, and the compact. This is a storage device. Even though some books will say it's a peripheral device, but it's more a storage device. So any one of these would be safe. Any two of these would be safe, right? For a two peripheral device, you circle state or each may be used by an individual in the music industry, right? And we can pick any two. Keyboard can be used to input musical notes, control virtual instruments, and compose music. Microphone will be the easiest of all, can be used by musicians to record vocals and instruments for a song or audio production. Of course, a monitor can be used to um, access or look at the various software, and mouse can be used to access those software. Right? So they can be used to do a lot of things. Next, printers are output devices used to create a hard copy documents. Name one of the two categories of printers. Right? So you have impact printers, such as dot matrix, and you have non-impact printers, such as inkjet laser and terminal printers, right? Outline one difference between a dot matrix printer and a terminal printer. So a dot matrix printer uses a printer head, right, with tiny pins that strike. So main thing is that it hits the paper, right? And Incriband to produce characters on the paper. So it strikes the paper. While terminal printer uses heat-sensitive paper and heat print head to produce text. So they use heat to produce text and images without using ink, right? So that's pretty easy stuff going so far. Let's move on. A musician is in the process of sourcing a printer. Provide three reasons why a laser printer should be chosen over inkjet printer. So, laser printer is a lot faster, right? Prints document way faster than inkjet. It's lower printing cost per page, right? So laser printer use toner which lasts longer than ink, reducing overall cost per page printed. And of course, laser printer tend to have a higher quality print, right? Rather than inkjet. Next one says, consider moving on to database now. Consider the following database with two tables named farmers and farm. So farmers table, farm table. In the database table form, name the field that by which each record can be uniquely identified in form. And of course, uniquely would be the form ID. Okay? Unique, right? The numbers assigned. Wait, let's look at it again. Form, yes. So the form ID, yes. You're right. Then now, it says state the field that must be linked in order to create a relationship between the two tables. Right? So you must link the farm, so you must link the ID number, which is this, right? So you want to link this to the farm ID. So you want to link the farmer's ID to the farm ID, right? If you want to join these two tables, right? To create a relationship, right? Next, it says complete a design view extract below to show a simple query that will list the farmer's full name, region, crop, farm ID and for farmer ID number one, right? So number one. So we're going to look at the fields. So we're going to have the fields that they have to here. They want the farmer ID, yes. They want the farm ID, yes. They want the first name, last name, region, right, and crop. And then now they want the table. So where can you find the farmer ID? The farmer ID is in the farmer's table. Let's check. See? Farmer's table. Next, we want the farm ID, and that is in the farm table. Right? So we're just writing the table where you find them here. First name is in the farmers. Last name is also in the farmers. Right? Region. Let's check. Region is in the farmers, right? And then crop is in the farm table. Right? And then now they say farmer ID number one. So that becomes a criteria. Right? So we're gonna put on the farm ID, we're gonna ensure we have one there, right? And then now what we're gonna do, we're gonna tick all of these boxes here to show. And that will be 4 marks, right? Yes. Okay, good. Now this, yeah, if you haven't been, if your teacher haven't been going through, design view, you might have a little challenge there, but yes. Let's move on. Complete the data sheet view. Extract below by displaying the results of the query. So let's look at the results of the query, right, that you did in D3, right? So we want to show farmer's ID, I want criteria, I want region, and I want number one, right? So who is number one here? Jack. Jack is number one, right? And therefore Jack Smith, right? So it's gonna region one, also Jack Smith. And let's look down here. We see crops. And we check there, old farmer ID number one. And the crops would be banana and orange. Right? And then the farmer ID would be 002 for banana. So we're gonna do it. So because both of it was linked to Jack, Jack name Jack Smith is gonna come up twice. Right? Based on the criteria. So results there, Jack Smith, region one, farmer, banana, and that's that there. I see there Jack is one here, one region one, and one there in the farmer's ID. So the two farmer's ID, one, that's the criteria, right? And we are looking for banana. So banana is also linked to one, orange is linked to one, the farmer's ID. You will put that there, and then that will be your answer. All right? Simple. Moving on. Define each of the following term, verification. And of course, verification is the process of checking that the data has been correctly entered into a computer system by comparing it to the original source document. Then we have validation, is a process of checking that the data entered into a computer system is reasonable, sensible, and conforms with the predefined rules or constraint, right? So it's basically to check the data entered into the computer to see if it conforms with with the rules of the computer, right? And the restrictions of the computer, right? So you're going to check if it's let's say you are putting you're in a number field. You're gonna check if it's text there. So you want to check if the data confirm if it's numbers. So as it really should be numbers there and have text there. So you're checking. All right. Moving on. We're saying now that state one example of a typical data entry error. So you could be typing 12345 and instead you type 12354, right? And acquiring a number, ID number, or phone number, right? So that's a simple data error. Then it says for each validation check in the following tables, take one example of its use. So range check, right? Range check an example. Ensure student age is between, because it's range, 10 to 18 years in a school database. And of course, you're just making up some things that is a validation check. Data type, ensuring that the field for phone numbers only accept numeric values. That's what I was explaining before, right? And not text. Then the presence check, ensuring that an email address field is not left blank, right, in an online registration form. So you're gonna check if it's there, right? Don't leave out anything. All right. So anything along those lines of examples, stream. Describe how double data entry check can be applied on a student's application form with respect to confirming the student's age. Right? So a double data entry check for a student's age would require the student to enter their name twice in two separate fields, their age twice in two separate fields, right? So you put age, your age in one field, age in another field, right? Just like how you do your password. It says re-enter password and then type back password again. That's a double data check, right? The system would then compare your two entries to see if they match, just like when you're doing a password, right? For each of the following scenarios, state the need, say the type of validation check that should be used. So the age entered must correspond with the age calculated from the date of birth. All right, so that's a consistency check or cross-reference check. All right, okay, you want to see if the age entered must correspond with the age calculated from the date of birth, right? So it's a consistency check. Then it says the national insurance number must have three alphanumeric characters followed by six numeric characters. And that's a format check. Just like you're doing the date, many different databases have many different date format. Right? And then a parser must have a specific number of characters. That's a length check. Right? Then we said Jane is writing an essay using a word processing software. Describe the steps that Jane should take to determine the number of words in the essay. Right? So Jane should select all the text in her essay by pressing, Control A. Or if you're using a Apple, you use Command plus A on the Mac, right? Or by using a mouse to highlight all the content, right? And then she should look at the status bar at the bottom of the word processing window, which typically displays the word code automatically when the text is selected. This is in your Word document. If you are in your, I think, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Google Docs, right? Then can access the word count feature through menu clicking Tools or View, right? And selecting word count from the drop-down menu, the word count dialog box will appear showing the total number of words in a essay. And of course, different software will depend, different versions will depend, right? Yes, but any one of these could get 2 marks easily. Moving on. Complete the table by inserting the most appropriate web technology concepts from the following list. So we would say HTML is a language used to create documents viewed on the World Wide Web. Hyperlink, of course, is a clickable word or image that opens a file or application. Mail merge, a document is created as a template and is used to create multiple personalized documents for distribution. Web browser, a program used to view information on the World Wide Web. And web page, a single document on the internet. Right? Moving on, easy stuff. The following URL is used by students to gain access to their exam results. So that's the CXC website here. Describe each of the three components, right? So the first one is the HTTPS, which is the protocol, right? A secure version of the HTTP used to secure communication over the internet. All right, then we will have the domain name, which is www.cxc.org. And that represents the Caribbean Examination Council CXC website, right? So the domain name identifies the website that is being accessed. And then finally, the path, which is the results, right, specifies the exact page or directory being accessed within the website, which page you're currently on right now, right? And which in this case is the results page. Moving on, says manufacturer X is in the process of integrating technology into its day-to-day operation and has hired different consultants to assist in the selection of the correct hardware and software. The company has also hired programmers who will be developing an application specifically for its use. State one difference between hardware and software. Again, easy food. Hardware is a physical component of a computer system that can be touched, keyboard, monitor, hard drive, printer, etc. Software programs or applications and instruction that controls the hardware, like Microsoft Word and of course operating system, Windows OS, etc. Then it says identify the category of software being created for manufacturer X. And of course, it says integrating into the hired consultants. Correct. All right, we will say that it's a custom software, it's a customized software, right? Because it's being made to suit manufacturer X, right? The software, cool. A member of the accounts department is having trouble printing a document from the current payroll application. She printed the document but only saw lines on the paper. State the likely cause of the problem. So apparently, the inject um could be jammed, could be clogged, right? Printer could be low of ink. I don't think it would be out of toner, right? But I think it would be low on ink, right? And the rows could be skipping, but I think they have to do something with the ink cartridge to be specific, right? So I think the ink cartridge probably could be clogged, so it has to be related to the ink cartridge. Or you could say the printer is low because the print ink is low, right? It's low on toner, right? Because you are seeing something, but it's not clear. So that means something is there. All right. So you can't say it's out of it. I wouldn't say it's out of it. I would say it's low. Right? Next, the application would be designed for interaction of users via graphical user interface. State two advantage of a graphical user interface over command line. And if you are familiar with command line, you know that command line sucks when it comes on to user friendliness. So graphical user is user friendly because you use icon, windows, menus, all these nice things, easier for user to navigate. And the visual representation, right? GUI provides visual feedback through icons, button images, make it easier for users to understand, interact with the software. Nice. Next, 2 terabytes. 2 terabyte solid state drive will be installed on here and in the computer lab technician. So 2 terabyte solid state drive will be installed in the computer of the lab technician at manufacturer X. Determine the number of 5 GB file that could fit on the drive. Show all working. All right, so CXC, go wild here. Man, I know you guys didn't even carry calculators in, but let's go. So we need to know that we need to convert the terabytes to gigabytes, right? And 1 terabyte is, of course, 1024, right? So therefore, we need to work out what 2 is. And 2 is 2048. Now, in the exam, it's simple when you're doing these math. You're doing it by 2, you would say 1002, 4. All right, and a shortcut is that you times 10 by 2, you get 20, and times 224, you get 48, right? Yes. So you're just doubling up the number. And times by 2, you're doubling up the number, right? So 248, good. Then now after you find 248, you're going to then divide 248 by 5. That is 248 gigabyte, right? So 248 gigabyte by 5 Yeah, go put on some divide now. Yeah, no, no, that. 20 for 8. You're gonna say 5 into 20 goes 4, right? And then you go boom, put back up the 0. So, yeah, so you say 5 into 5 nines is 45, right? And you have some remainders leave, but the remainders aren't whole, so there's not a file. So the answer would be 509 files. All right. Next, having met with the chief technical officer for manufacturer X, the programmers, designers will finalize the problem solving process. Place each of the following problem solving steps in the correct order. So define the problem, develop the algorithm. So the first one, you're going to define the problem, propose and evaluate solution, determine the most efficient solution, test and validate the solution, and then you develop the algorithm. All right, easy stuff. Moving on. Complete the paragraph below by inserting the most appropriate terms in the blank space. So the values that are changeable during the execution of the program are known as variables, because variables can change, and the values set by the programmer that will never change during the execution of the program are known as constants, right? Easy stuff again. Then we move on to some algorithm snippet. So complete the following algorithm snippet to show the payroll process for manufacturer X. So rate 5, expected hours 40, overtime 6. So read hours worked if hours worked, right, is greater than expected hours, then overtime would be hours worked, right, minus expected hours, right? And then now pay overtime hours times overtime rate plus expected hours times rate, right? Else pay work hours worked times rate, right? And end if. So, yes. Hope that was easy for you guys. All right, moving on. Draw a flowchart to represent a completed algorithm in snippets. So of course, start is represented by an oval. Yeah, then arrow is very important. And anything with equal, we're gonna work it out. So it has to be in a square. All right. So rate 5, expected hours 40, overtime rate 6. You see that here, flowchart. Then go down to read hours worked, right? So hours worked, right? Read hours worked, and that's an input or output. So it goes in a parallelogram, right? And please forgive my parallelogram. All right. Then hours worked greater than expected hours, right? That becomes a process, right? So all process goes in what you call a diamond, right? Then we're gonna have some extensions there because it's either yes, well, it's not really a process, I should say, for diamond. It's really a decision point, right? Sorry about that. I'm moving fast. So decision point is what the diamond is all about, right? So you're deciding whether no or yes. So any decision point in a flow chart, it's represented by a diamond. So we say yes or no. So yes, and if it's yes, right, then because we're choosing between both of these, right? So if it is yes, then we're gonna work with this. If it's yes, right? So that means we're gonna put all of this in a rectangle, right? And we're gonna say overtime equal hours worked, expected hours, and then pay we're going to replicate all of that this here. And if no, we're going to put this here. If no, we're going to say pay equal hours work times rate, and then we have stopped there. All right? Yes. So anywhere, guys, equal, right? We want to put it in that's a trick we learn, right? Anywhere equal is, you put it in a rectangle. All right? Right? Because it represents a task or action or operation within a process, right? So I hope you guys smash this one, right? And again, forgive my horrible joy. Next, we say complete the table below by placing each of the following transmission media devices into appropriate category. So, example, twisted pair is a wired transmission, wireless. So we know that coaxial cable and fiber optics are all transmission wired, and infrared microwave are it's infrared microwave. Oh, I have two things there. That should have been, let's put and fix that there. Should have been satellite. Satellite. Yes. Right? Then we move on to question B. The logistic hub has created a spreadsheet, or it's a spreadsheet, to track the number of containers that pass through its ports for different shipping lines. Right? Then we see the spreadsheet here. Let's put some. Yes. Then it says state one formatting feature applied in the spreadsheet. So we can clearly see cell one here. We see yeah, we see cell in row one here. Right? So we see that the cells in row one are merged and centered, right? And we also see some bold in and about there, but they also one. So any one of those will be fine. Then it says the data in the spreadsheet is sorted. State the column on which the sorting feature was applied on the sorting order. Right? So we would say it's column A, right? Because we can clearly see that the shipping line is sorted in alphabetical order, and it's going from 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going in a ascending order. Right? From least to most, right? Moving on. Then it says write the formula function to be inserted in H3 to calculate the number of containers shipped during the week for canvas shipping. Now H3, let's say H3 should be canvas shipping. H3 is H3 here. We see that's blue C line. So free marks. Alert. Alert. Free marks. All right, so guys, 2 marks goes to you right here because CXC made an error. Really should have been H4, right? So it should have been H4 instead of H3. But what they really wanted you to enter though is equal sum, right? It should have been, yes, H4, right? Should have been H4 there, all right? But this, I think, would be a free marks, nevertheless. Right? Because it should have been H4, right? Should have been from, yeah, should have been H4. So, right, it should have been, my bad. So it should have been H4, and they put it at H3, right? So it should have really been B4, which is coming from here. So it should have been B4 to G4, yeah, which would have been H4, not H3, right? So this was should have been the answer. Right? To give you canvas shipping. Moving on, so 3 marks. Yay. Good for you. All right, then write the function that would be used to determine the lowest number of containers shipped on Wednesday. So, of course, lowest. So we use equal min, right? And we look for Wednesday. And Wednesday would be D3 to D7. Yes, D3. Right here to D7. Sorry. Let's take that out. Just that you could follow. All right. Then figure one below is a chart that was created using a spreadsheet data of Logistic Hub. Right? They ask you what type of chart is used to represent data in figure one. It's a clustered column chart, right? Or column chart. Specifically, it's a clustered, okay, you can see it's clustered there. And some people I know will put bar graph, but here's the thing. Bar graph in Excel is horizontal. So it depends on the marker. If the marker is hard, then I think they'll only take column chart. But if they're a little bit lenient, they might accept bar. But bar is horizontal in Excel. So bar, kind of shaky. Column chart, you're safe. Cluster, they even more safer, right? Using the spreadsheet data provided in B on page 16. Okay. All right. List in the correct order the steps required for creating a chart shown in figure one. So how do you create a chart, right? Using this. So first thing you do is select the data that you want to represent. So let's say you're gonna select, you want to select let's say these data here. And you select the data first. And after you select the data, you are going to click on insert tab in the spreadsheet software. Then you're going to select column chart. And from the chart, you would specifically choose the cluster column option or the column option. Eh? Nice. Moving on. Define the term syntax error. A syntax error is a mistake in the structure or program of a programming language that violates the rule of the language. Right? So it's a mistake in the grammar of programming, right? Like putting a wrong symbol, right? Then it says complete the table below by inserting the data type to be used for each of the following variables, and we're programming. So first name is text, so text is string, right? For char, if you know, but string you're more familiar with. Item price is normally decimal, so we would use a float or a real, right? Data type. Receipt number is whole number, so we'll put integer there. In stock is normally a yes or no. Is it in stock? No, it's not. So it's a Boolean, right? Moving on. So while using a while loop, very important, construct, right? Write pseudocode to produce the following. Accept a whole number from the user. All right. If the number is entered is greater than zero, if a number entered is greater than zero, print positive number. If the number entered is less than zero, print negative number. If the number entered is zero, print you have entered a zero, goodbye. Okay, so therefore, this is where what you're going to end with if you press zero, right? Yes. All right, so first. Yeah, so before we continue, this is known as a release clause, a release condition, right? To end the loop. So what the loop is asking, you know, is this. Let's look what the loop is asking. If this number is greater than zero, print. right? If the number is less than zero, print negative number, right? It's asking that loop is going to be continuing, that while loop, right? So that's a release condition. That means that once you enter zero, right? Once you enter zero, it's going to print that you have entered zero and it's going to end the loop by saying, goodbye, right? So let's look. So you have the algorithm number, right? Variable number represented by n. It can become an n, right? I was doing this quickly. And then you start, then you print, open bracket, you enter the whole number, right? Make sure you have a symbol, enter a whole number. Read that number. While that number is not equal to zero, right? Do. Then if it's greater than zero, then print positive number, right? Else print negative number, right? End if, right? Then you say print release, print, please enter a number, read n while, right? Print, you have entered zero, goodbye, stop. All right? So, you know, it's a while loop. So, you have to enter your while here. Can just write if else, right? So I hope you guys, this is how much marks? 5 marks. That's crazy. That is crazy. That should have been at least 12 marks. But it's good for the persons who may have made a mistake. You wouldn't have been affected that much, right? But that's crazy for the people who have that long. All right. So, yes, we have come to the end of the paper, guys. Of course, put in the comments below what you placed, right? The answers that you have gone with. Remember, guys, join us. Join our classes to make this thing very easy for you guys. All right? Go.